and gentlemen, welcome
Okay.
to another exciting adventure in integrative new techniques. We are in Hishtapchut HaNefesh,
Where's my book?
Torah Nun Vav,
Oh,
number 56. And that's the horn that tells us that we're right on the right number. And we're going to start. Please make sure that unless there's a, God forbid, terrible emergency, that we're not going to answer our phones for the next hour. We're not going to be slaves to our phones. Rather, our phones are to serve us. We do not serve our phones. And we are learning tonight that in the merit of this learning, please God, we should see good things for Yeshua, for all of Am Yisrael, and amongst them Michael, Chaim ben Rivka, and Ephraim Yisrael ben Osnat, who are imprisoned unjustly. Hashem should have compassion and reveal justice and give them salvation. And also for Chaya Bat Be'ah, who's ill, and we were praying that she should have a complete and speedy healing along with all of Am Yisrael. And who else?
Yisrael Tzvi ben Esther.
And Yisrael Tzvi ben Esther for Shlema.
And all of us who are looking for zihut.
And we should, it may be that the merit of this learning also that Hashem should have compassion on all of the single people, all the lonely people. Where do they all come from? Do they all belong to each other? Which certainly, please Hashem, we should have zihut for everybody. Okay, so here we are on Torah Nun Vav. Very, this is one of my favorites. And here we go. Al yedei asicha shemsichim nedavim beino lebein kono. Through the sneezing, I mean the conversation that we have when we converse and we speak between a person and his creator. Umotzi'im bapeh hakisufina ratzonos tovos shelo, and he speaks out all his yearnings and desires, and good desires. משהו הוא נחשף ומשתוקק ומתגעגע לצאת מהרע שלו לזכות לטוב אמיתי. That which he yearns and desires and feels driven to go out from is the negative traits and to merit to true good. When a person speaks those desires to Hashem, and he prays and supplicates before Hashem on this. So you think what we're going to talk about here is that he does good things for himself, right? He prays and it's good for him, that he's going to get answered, that he's going to be zochah to tshuva, he's going to come back and so you thought that we were going to be talking about how that you pray and Hashem's going to answer these prayers. Well, that's true, but guess what he's saying here? He says when you do this, when you express your desires and your yearnings for good, to become a good person and to be released from the traits of negative traits, he says through this a person causes good souls to come from potential into actual. Because just the yearning itself causes a soul to come into the world in potential. It's an amazing idea. Just through when we hold a feeling of yearning in our heart, right? And that's just by doing that, it causes a spiritual change, a change in the spiritual realms, where there's a creation of a potential soul. A soul comes, whatever that means, the formation of the light that becomes a soul, that light begins to come in and starts to take its form. Because the yearning itself is the aspect of the nefesh, which the nefesh is the lowest part of the soul, of the five parts of the soul, starting with the yechida, then chaya, then neshama, then the next part, the next lowest level is ruach, which is like intuition and things like that is part of ruach, and the nefesh is called the part of the soul that most completely comes in contact with physicality. It includes emotions and feelings, it includes the blood, the life force. It's all part of nefesh. So the nefesh includes the yearning is an aspect of nefesh, is an aspect of the soul. As it says in Tehillim, Nichsefa v'gam kalta nafshi, that my soul yearned and desired. Well, actually, kalta is like I'm dying with desire, like from the word lechalot, finish. Like mamash, I'm yearning, I'm finished. I'm so deeply in pain from the lack of this, whatever this is that I'm learning. That's the idea of kalta nafshi. And then when you speak the words, so you hold, so what do you do? So we can do this all right now. Just think of how much you'd like to be proper and holy before Hashem. And hold that as a thought, and amplify it in your heart as a silent scream of how much, wow, I want that. And hold that. And then afterwards you speak the words, Hashem, I want so much to be proper before you. I want so much to come to good for you. And whatever it is, the words that you're holding in your heart, the yearning. So he says you hold it in your heart as a feeling, and then you speak the words in the aspect of Vayihi Adam lenefesh chaya. That's that the person was a living soul, and he says nefesh chaya, and the Unklus translated there ruach memalala, a speaking spirit. U'kamosh katsuv, and also it says, as it's written, nafshi yatzat b'dakro, my soul went out with his word. And then through this process of holding the thought, or holding the feeling of yearning for the thing, the desired end you were thinking of, through holding that in your heart and then speaking it. So through this, he merits that his request should be activated, that he'll be able to receive what he wants. Also, and what happens is somehow what this does is it causes a formation of letters from the Torah to create a good influence in the world. And he gives life to and causes existence, gives everything existence. And he draws good and blessing in all of the realms. Can you imagine this? Look at what we're talking about. This list of one thing after another that happens when we hold a feeling of yearning in our hearts and then speak the words that we're yearning for, what were the thoughts of which we're yearning. And it causes good things to happen in the world. And it causes somebody clear across the world suddenly has a thought in his heart to do tshuva. Because we did this one little thing, seemingly little thing, of holding a feeling of yearning in the heart and then speaking the words. So by doing this, by speaking this word out between Hashem, it causes these things. Okay, let's look at that again. What does it cause? It causes a greater likelihood that you're going to have your prayer answered. It causes the formation of letters from the Torah to influence good in the world. It causes a giving vitality and sustenance to everything. It draws good and blessing in all the realms. It causes good things to happen in the world. And it arouses several people somewhere in the world to do tshuva. All this can be yours for the low, low price of just holding a feeling of yearning in your heart and then saying the words. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Because this whole matter of holding yearning, of experiencing the yearning and good desires, and then to enunciate them completely with a full speaking them fully and completely. It's a very precious thing. And we need to get used to doing this. Each person needs to get used to doing this many times every day. And this can cause the entire world to come back to the good. And that's what it says. There's a vapor that's made on the earth. This is the vapor that comes out of the mouth. From the holy words that we've been talking about. That there's evil people. That that what happens is that things happen to them as if they were tzaddikim. This is because what happens is you would have thought that they're evil and they're stuck in evil. How do they merit to come out to do tshuva? And there are people who are evil that suddenly turn around and become like tzaddikim. Now, how can that happen? And this is because of what we're saying here. By holding again, I can't say this enough because it seems like this sounds like so. What do you have to do to make all this happen? This is so much stuff you're causing to happen. What do you have to do? You have to hold a feeling in your heart and then say the words. How simple is that? So simple that it's hard to do. So simple that it's hard to believe in, that the Yetzer Hara is going to come along and say, how can it be something so simple can cause these amazing things to happen in the world? I can't believe it. It's got to be way more complicated than that. And that's what can stop us from doing this. Because how much would we do this? If we really believed in our power to help the world, how much would we help the world? So the Yetzer Hara wants us to not believe in this. We see this here, black and white words. It says, these are all the things that happen when we do this. We can cause the entire world to do tshuva just by doing this. And believe me, I love this Torah. I've seen this Baruch Hashem a number of times, and I remember to do it for a while, and then I kind of slack off. And we have to remind ourselves, remind each other, hey, did you hold some yearning in your heart today and speak some words? It's a good thing to ask each other. Did you remember to hold some yearning? Did you get a chance to do some yearning in your heart and speak some words after that? Because what we usually tend to do is we tend to speak the words and then maybe, hopefully, we have a feeling. So what we want to do is pause, have the thought about what we want to say. Before we say it, just feel that feeling of how much we want it. And I'm adding my own understanding here. Silently scream it. Silently scream how much I want this good thing, and then say the words. And he says, and this causes evil people to suddenly do tshuva. And there's also, this power can be used, God forbid, in the opposite way. That the vapor of the mouth that comes out, the words that come out, when a person speaks of evil desires and evil yearnings, God forbid. And because of this, that happened, that it can cause the downfall of tzaddikim. Because the speech, which is the soul energy, which is the speaking spirit, it manifests. It kind of mitgalgel is like this from Gilgul, it rolls out, it unfolds throughout the world, and it'll affect different people. It's like a pinball machine. The balls you want to have, you're bouncing around this one and this one, it hits this one and this one and this one. So it affects people. According to the way the vapors come out into the land. So we have to be real careful. Not only to speak words of desire for good, but we have to be very careful never to say, even jokingly, something that's not good. Because our words have tremendous power. שבבוא השם אשר על כל צריכים לשמור עצמו מאוד מכיסופים רעים מפרט מלהוציא מהפה. He says, Rebbe Nachman says, and we can tell others, he says that we need to be very careful to guard ourselves extremely well from letting ourselves think about desires that are evil, and especially not to say them. Because that causes unhealthy and unholy urges to come into the world. And this is what David Melech said. I checked my heart that Pakadata Laila, that you gave to be careful, the Pakadata Laila, and I formed that the things that weren't found. How does he translate that? Because that was a terrible job of translating that.
You examined my heart, you searched in the night, you tested me but did not find.
Okay. Bachanta, you searched my heart. Bakadata Laila, tested in the night, and you tested me and did not find. Hainu Shema B'Shvil Klal Yisrael. This is what he was saying. He was saying this for the sake of Am Yisrael. Yadati Shelo Amadati B'Nisayon Karui. He says, I know that I didn't stand in this test completely, like I should have. Because I still want things from this world. I really apologize. Usually I really try to look at all the psukim and make sure to translate them well before I get them over, but I missed this one and I apologize. Zamoti bal ya'avor bi pi ki al kol panim ani shomer atzmi shelo lahotzi hakisufim elo al hadimochi chas v'shalom. He said zamoti, that's I know.
At least.
Sorry.
At least.
Zamoti is like zima, is like
Sorry.
conspiring. Right? Is that how does it translate there? Zamoti bal yavo pi. You see it?
He doesn't translate it at all like that. Says, I know that I have not stood up well in the test I was given, for I have not yet merited being spared from the desires of this world. Yet as the verse concludes, may my thoughts never cross my mouth, for at least I guard myself from expressing these desires verbally, so that they will not cause others to commit evil deeds.
Okay, right. So that's what we're saying. He says even if he realized that he still has some desires for this. Even David Melech wanted to order a pizza sometimes. You know, he says, but I didn't say it. I didn't even get on the phone and say, I'd like to order a pizza, but I didn't even say it. Right? And he's just talking about things for this world. He wasn't talking about necessarily absolute evil things. He was just talking about having a desire for this world, which on the level of absolute tzidkut, of absolute righteousness, any desire for this world is an aspect of evil. But for some people, plain people, we got to know that, okay, there's levels. We don't have to get too uptight about it. But we have to know the truth. The truth is, we would like to aspire to a level where we have no desire for pleasures of this world at all. But certainly not to speak that. He would never speak it. To not cause evil actions or evil outcomes into the world, God forbid. So he's saying this, he says, I've accustomed myself to always speaking holy words for yearnings for good things, for desires for good things, to call upon you, Hashem, always. That you should bring me back to you in truth. And through this, there are good things that happened and blessing that are drawn into all the universes, all the realms. And this is what it says, for for the actions of a man through the words of his lips, of your lips. כשאני נשמר לדבר רק דיבורים קדושים, he says that David Melech saying that I'm very guarded only to speak holy words. שהם דברי שפתיך, those are the words of your lips, Hashem. כדי שעל ידי זה יהיו נגמרים כל פעולות אדם לטובה. That through this, all the actions and activities that happen to people in this world will come out for the good. וזה, that's what he says, אני שמרתי אורחות פריץ. So I guarded against the ways of licentiousness. כי על ידי זה, עד שאני מרגיל לשוני לדבר תמיד דיבורים של כיסופים טובים, that through this, that I always have accustomed my tongue to speak only words of good yearnings, of holy yearnings. על ידי זה, אני זוכה להינצל להישמר מכל אורחות פריץ. Through this, I merit to be saved from and guarded from all of the ways of blatant physicality in the world. Shehem kol hadrachim ra'im, which is all the evil ways, Rahman al-Atzlan, God should save us from them. Rak tamoch ashurai b'gam b'galotecha. That you should, how does he translate tamoch ashurai b'galotecha? To sustain my joy with your frameworks along those lines. Do you have the translate there?
Say it again.
Tamoch ashurai b'maglotecha. To sustain or support my asher is happiness, and maglotecha is ma'agal, like circles. Okay. Ki dogurim tovim tomchim. Because the good words sustain me, support me, that will support, that they support my happiness within your circles, within Hashem's holiness. And this we're going to explain more, that through what did I merit through this? I call you that you answer me, God. Is that this is the entire subject. This is the entire corpus of what the main point of hibodedut, making oneself alone with Hashem, and having a conversation like you do, like you're having close between your various friends.
Translates it totally different.
Please let me hear.
He says, this is why I was so confused. But when you went to the next line, just what came up. Okay, support my. Rather, support my footsteps in your paths, for the good word support and help me to steady my footsteps in your paths. Then King David describes more fully how he merits this.
Okay, so anikraticha kitani nikel, I call to you that you will answer me, God. Shezeh koli yani bodedut. That this is what the point of hibodedut is. Shetzuvichin lahargil eratzmo. We need to, and he says this this is like the third or fourth time he said, we have to get used to this. Lahargil eratzmo. You have to get used to this, especially us, coming from the West, coming from our environments where we came from. We're not used to speaking our words to Hashem. We're certainly not used to the idea. We usually, when we speak, we might feel something, and we don't usually pay attention to the feeling so much. Or perhaps we're aware of it as we're speaking. We don't usually hold the feeling, hold the thought and the feeling, and then speak it. So we have to get used to this. We have to to get used to this and practice doing this a lot. To always have good yearnings going on. And to let them come out, to emit them from his mouth each day. So again, we're talking about, what do? Want to go around screaming silently? Honestly, that's what he's saying. We want to go around, walking around screaming silently how much Hashem I want you. How much Hashem I want to come close to you. How much Hashem I want to see goodness in my life, true goodness, and for other people. To hold that as a thought and a silent scream in our heart, walking around, and then periodically, when just speaking those words. V'ayano b'sefer alim trufani, he says, furthermore, we see it's written about further in the Rebbe Nachman's writings, in his letters, Mimomei Rav Nachman, Zichron al-Bracha, Shekitav Sham, Ki hakol yicholim lifol al yedei ritzonos, v'kisufim. He says you can do everything through desire. And they even say that, I remember when I was doing sales, they used to say that if you have what was the key to being the best salesman? It says you have to have a burning desire, lahavdil. Right? You have to have a burning desire. Let's say they talk about this in athletics, lahavdil. How do you become a champion athlete? You have to have a burning desire. He says, well, this is rooted in a very deep place, in the absolute spiritual truth.
It's the Jewish secret.
It says you can get everything you want, all the good. You can become the person you want to be if you will just keep having the burning desire in your heart. And to get used to speaking out these good desires with your mouth. Did you want to say something, sir?
I said the Jewish secret.
The Jewish secret?
Yeah.
Oh, right, the secret. Yeah, well, here it is. This is the secret. Kumuna, imduna, uruna, levav chematov, hetev, hetev. He says, get up, stand up, arouse yourselves, arouse your hearts, do it really well, strong, to get used to teach yourself to be used to. To go in this way of desiring and yearning, great amounts of desire, great amounts of yearning for Hashem. All the time. And speak these words out. Speak out these desires. Now listen, we're going to hear he says even more. He says, through this, ne'eragim olamos. וחידושים נפלאים על ידי צירופי אותיות ב-231 השערים המצטרפים ונזדווגים בצירופים חדשים נפלאים על ידי הדיבורי הכיסויים השם לתורתו. Well, listen, he says, when we do this, we knit together universes. We cause brand new, novel spiritual entities to come into existence. We knit together, when we have these kisufim, when we speak them, we knit together universes and cause amazing new spiritual existences through the, I always forget this word, this translation of tzeruf. Permutations. The permutations of the letters in the 231 gates that join together and become unified and join in union with new permutations, amazing new permutations. Through these words of longing for Hashem and for His Torah and for His ways of holiness. He says that we understand this from in Simon Lamed Aleph in Torah 31 of Likutei Moharan, where Rebbe Nachman explains the underlying principles of why this is so. Because this is not an empty thing from you. This is your life. And Rebbe Nachman is going on. This is, by the way, a letter to his children, to his sons. Maybe it was, I'm not sure which one, but his son or his sons. He says because, and also today I was learning in a book of Kabbalah. And he says, I was learning about this idea of bringing universes and worlds into existence and knitting them together. Through the permutations of letters in the 231 gates that show up front and back, the front side and the back side. He says, and through this learning that I was doing, I was mamish turned on. I was so enthused. I was so excited. I was so aroused. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and I understood more deeply. And beyond, I can't even say it. I can't even say it quickly enough. I was speaking with one of the young people, Shalanu, of our chevra. How amazingly, what wondrous levels a person merits to go in the way of the teachings of Rebbe Nachman. Binyan Haratzonos V'Kisavim L'Shem Yisbarach, about the matter of the longings and the yearnings to Hashem and to His Torah, the Chlalius, the Pratius, generally speaking, and specific, the general idea of general longings, and the specifics of being able to learn specific parts of Torah and specific ways with specific mitzvahs that a person wants to do. Uledavar b'peh, to say that out with your mouth. Hein b'derech klal, whether it's a general speaking out, like Hashem, please bring me to your Torah. That I want to be a Jew, a true Jew. Hein b'prati, whether it's the specifics, masha chaser lo b'prat be'oto eit, specifically what he's lacking in that specific moment of Hashem. I want so much to have control over my eating habits. I want to control over the specific details about what the person wants to work on. Ashrei she'yochez b'zeh. Happy is the person that holds on to this. Leit kol mocha selver adam v'olam ozaliyoni v'niflai zeh shashuim. Not every person, not every mind can conceive, can suffer the greatness of what it is to join, to knit together universes, the supernal universes that the amazement and the delights that happen because of this. That come up before Hashem through this. Says, strengthen yourselves and be courageous to fulfill this way of going about at every single time. In order that it should be good for you forever. What a Torah.
Amazing. Glory Lord. Total.
Yeah. Shenizgeh l'kayim, right? So, I mean, just right now, just hold one. Take one of those holy thoughts. I want so much to be a good Jewish. Simple as that. How everybody knows, like, let yourself feel. The more you can, by the way, he says in another place, we'll get there, but he says the more deeply you feel the yearning, the more powerful it is. And yearning, you know what yearning is? It's a type of pain. So if you have a message from our Western world that pain is wrong and pain is bad, you won't be able to let yourself yearn as deeply. So what we need to do is you have to first know that in order to be able to do this, you have to first know that you're perfect. The way Hashem created you is perfect. You have to have a solid, healthy sense of yourself that you're okay, because otherwise you get people, when they let themselves feel the pain of their lack, pain of their yearning, if they're not healthy, they'll become to a depression. So you have to understand that Hashem created each one, everyone is perfectly imperfect. They're exactly the way Hashem is. And then once you know that clear, that Hashem loves you and is with you, without a doubt, then you can let yourself open your heart and feel the pain. Let yourself, like the way what I like to do is let myself feel as if I'm like the lowest of the low. As if like every single person is way better than me, which is probably true anyway. But let myself feel that, and let myself be broken from that. Like how would you feel if everybody was like really, if you saw that everybody really was better than you, and you knew that, and you knew there was hope that Hashem could change it, then you'd feel that pain in your heart about how wanting that. And he says that when you do that, if you let that be in your heart and then say the words, you're doing these amazing, gewaltic things that you have no idea. And the Yetzer Hara is going to want to stop you from believing it.
Good person. So, if a person's in a depression state or year state, and then thinking like that, he's the lowest. He's going to be devastated.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You can't do this unless you're clear that you're already good. You've done Torah 282, the Nekudos Tovos, and you know that you're full of perfectly good points and Hashem loves you. Only from that place can you really do this. Otherwise, as you said, a person who's not in a healthy state like that will be devastated and not be able to continue with this too much.
So with martial arts, what level is this?
Of doing this, this is green belt.
Green belt?
Was it learned?
Hmm?
Was it learned?
I'm working on developing a new framework for teaching these things within garments of mind-body medicine. And bringing something to the world, please God, called martial arts. And where there's going to be belts, like a white belt, is somebody who barely doesn't even know what a feeling is practically. It's so disconnected from feelings. And there'll be specific exercises and prayers that each belt will have. And each belt will be specifically like an orange belt is somebody who recognizes, who knows that they have anger and fear and shame inside of them. It's orange is a combination of red and yellow. So then there's green belt. Green belt is when a person has these feelings of uncomfortable place and they're at peace with it. They can be at peace with their uncomfortable feelings. That's the green. That's the green being at peace. That's a place where growth comes out of green belt. Then a purple belt is not only, purple belt is the person who can have the paradoxical experience of pain and joy. Emotion of pain and emotion of joy at the same time, like Rebbe Nachman talks about, alludes to in Torah 23 Tinyana. And then the black belt is the person who's Mamash Adam Yoshev, like he's saying most of the time. It's like he holds this level of the joy into the supernal heart. So there'll be specific prayers and body work exercises and dance, specific types of Buddha dance that a person will do in each of these belt levels. Please God. All right, should we go on more, or is it good for tonight? How do people feel? Want another one? All right. Here we go. Then Zion. Each and every Jew has a good point that is extremely precious. That this good point, they call it the pintaliyid, this good point that's precious, its desire is its strong desire is always only to do the will of its creator. But the desires for this world break his heart. And then his heart can't find it. His heart is going yearning for. The heart's looking for a piece of pizza. The heart's looking for a good football game. The heart's looking for a good television show, a good movie. And because they're breaking the heart, I want those things. The heart can't find that feeling of desire for Hashem, to do Hashem's will. Therefore, each one of us needs to speak out in a conversation with Hashem. That Hashem, and ask Hashem to illuminate that point in my heart that wants only your will. Hashem, I know that there's a point, I learned about it, I believe it's true, there's a point, a pure point inside of me that only wants to do your will. But Hashem, I'm so pulled after the desires of this world. I can't find this point. So please, Hashem, illuminate this point so that I find it, that I feel it, and that I go after it, so that all my motivation is only for your will. And this causes the circumcision of his heart. It causes the nullification of the foreskin, the covering of the heart, the numbing out of the heart. That was a good word, the nulling. That was numbing and dulling at the same time. The nulling. Fallen or evil loves, which are the burnings of the heart, the insults of the heart. That these things break a person's heart. The insult or the irritation broke my heart. So we have to. So here's another point of belief. We have to know and we have to believe and know that there is this pure point that only wants to do Hashem's will. And if we can't find it, it's only because the desires in this world are overwhelming us. So how do we deal with that? You ask Hashem, you say, Hashem, I can't. And tell him the truth. We're going to see in another place, Hashem says, that we say this in Asher, the verse says, Hashem is close to everyone who calls to him, whoever calls to him in truth. What does that mean? It means, if you tell Hashem, I really want to do your will, but you don't really want to, you're not telling him the truth. I mean, if you tell Hashem, I wish I wanted to do your will. Really what I want is to go outside and play in the sandbox. What I really want is to go downtown and party with the people partying downtown. That's the truth, Hashem. But I wish I didn't want that. So I don't know actually. So I'm hearing myself say a stira here because we just heard before that you shouldn't speak out evil desires.
Yeah.
But if you're telling Hashem the truth in the Hibodedut, so what are you saying? You're saying, Hashem, the truth is I really want other things. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you don't necessarily speak out exactly the details of what it is you really want. You just say, Hashem, I really wish I wanted what holiness, but there's other things that I'm wanting. And I don't even want to speak them out.
Okay.
What do you think of that?
Because you have to ask for the true truth.
Say it again?
You have to ask for the true truth.
Yeah, I'm saying this, yeah.
That's what I mean.
No, what I'm saying, if you're telling Hashem the truth,
Right.
would you say like, Hashem, I wish I wanted your will, but really what I want is to have a pizza and watch a football game.
You can leave it out.
So you're saying, would you agree with that? That's not that's not the way to do it. Leave it, don't say the details of it.
He's not saying that you should do that. He's saying that you should just say that I have a good point to me. Right?
No, I was reading in a different Torah where it says, like, that you want to tell Hashem the truth. So what's the truth? The truth is I really want something else, but it used to be, and up till now, I've said this number of times, Hashem Yerachem, I probably said something really not true. I said, like, a person who wants that should tell Hashem the truth. Hashem, this is what I'm really wanting right now, but it's not what I really want is to want you.
But this is what I'm wanting, and it's not right.
Right, so in that case, so maybe that's the difference. I think in Hibodedut, if you're telling Hashem what it is, that's different than speaking out stam, like, oh, I wish I could go XYZ.
Oh, so, okay.
I think that's the difference, that you're saying it to Hashem, and with Hashem you speak everything. You speak all the whole truth. Because Hashem, that when you do it, you're raising up the holy sparks and everything that goes on when you speak these words to Hashem. So good, so I didn't say such a bad idea then, Hashem. Okay, another? We're good. Another one? Do we dare?
We're good.
We're good? Okay.
Okay.
We'll rest at Noach, we'll rest there.
No,
No, what's us him
Yeah, what's that? Tov.
No, what's it him
Noach Matzah Zocha to be finding favor in Hashem's eyes, and our words we received, we should Zocha to get to become accustomed to holding yearnings and speaking them out. We should become accustomed to knowing that we have this beautiful, sweet point of preciousness. And may it be that this learning that Hashem should do good in the world. Oh, Hashem, please. Let Michael Chaim ben Rivka out. Let Ephraim, Yisrael ben Osnat out. Heal the ill people. And Yonatan Khaled ben Rachel? Rivka.
Yeah.
And heal Chaya bat Bea and
How about
Yisrael Tzvi Esther.
How about Rivashkin?
Right.
And also the
Ravashka.
Shalom Ravashka. Shalom Ravashka. Oi! Please, Rachem. Thank you for being with us. We'll be continuing learning, and the learning will continue, please God, even after situations change over the next few weeks. So.